Hi, Vanessa. Welcome. Um, right now, today, we're just interested in opening space to hear your story about work that you have done and been doing at French General Conference, and also anything else that's on your heart. Um, we'd love to just hear about what you've been up to.
Sure, thank you. So, French General Conference, I have been involved with that organization since actually 1994 when I went to my first FGC gathering. And I would say that actually it's because of my time there that my ministry was born. Um, so that I went to gatherings, and then I was on the governing body of Friends General Conference called Central Committee. And so I volunteered with the organization for many years until I actually officially started working as a staff member in 2005 for Friends General Conference. And in that role, that it has been a role that I continue to work in, which is with the Ministry on Racism program. And so it was also because of FGC sending me an invitation to join a program that they had at the time that I have a travel minute from my meeting. So because to participate in that program, it required having a minute of travel. And so I went to my meeting, Central Philadelphia, and asked for a travel minute, of course, which required having a clearance committee, and was thankful for that opportunity because the clearness committee, which I was very nervous about, what we're going to be the outcome. And the outcome actually was that it helped me see that I had a ministry. And so I was very thankful for that. And as a result, got a travel minute, which I've had since 2000 from Central Philadelphia in doing racial justice work. It has not been easy. It has been both the work with Central Philadelphia and also with French General Conference. And I would say just in the Quaker world, because my ministry has taken me all over the world, that it has had moments of extreme pain and challenge, as well as moments of wonderful joy and richness. And strangely, in this time of the pandemic, this is one of the times of joy and richness for me, in that the work that we've been doing, and we as French General Conference with Friends of Color, has been wonderful. Right now, we French General Conference offers several opportunities for Friends of Color to come together virtually. And they range from, we have 2 opportunities to worship, and one, and they're midweek worships, one that are happening on a weekly basis. One is on Wednesdays at 1 p.m. Eastern time, and then the other one is at 8 p.m. on Wednesday Eastern time. And we also provide a weekly opportunity for people to participate. These are people of color to participate as a group in worship sharing on Tuesdays. Those are Tuesday evenings around 5. And that's Eastern time. All of these times are Eastern time. And I need to say that because we've had people participate from actually internationally, from all over the world in the different events that we've been having. And we have a open house, which happens every other week on Fridays, Friday evenings at 7 p.m. And in all of the events that we have, we've had people participate from Britain, from Switzerland. We also had a person join us one day from Iran. So it's been an amazing experience. Um, so the other event that we have right now for people of color is monthly worship that occurs the third Sunday of each month. And that's actually our oldest worship and oldest virtual opportunity that we started that because 2 years ago, because there were friends of color who participated in Friends General Conference's pre-gathering retreat for friends of color and their families. And they were said that they were either no longer feeling supported by going to worship at their meetings, or they had moved and there was no meeting where they were currently living. And that was closer than 2 hours away, one way. And so we started the virtual worship for that monthly one, and continue to do that one as well. The gifts of these opportunities is that it does provide space for us to come together and to create community together, which we were doing I guess on an annual basis in different ways. Because in French General Conference, as I earlier mentioned, we have the pre-gathering retreat for friends of color and their families prior to the FGC gathering. And then we have been sponsoring a fall gathering for friends of color. And those have been regional. They've been in different areas. The last one that we had, sadly, because of COVID-19, we haven't had any further ones, was this fall in 2019. It was in Chicago, actually, that we had it. We had scheduled to have one in the spring of 2020, and that was going to be in the Portland area for friends of color from Intermountain, Pacific, and North Pacific yearly meetings. But of course, that was not possible. And so we did that virtually and rescheduled an in-person one for the fall, but we're not going to be having gatherings in person in the fall either. So we're in the process now that the gathering is over, of switching from it being an in-person gathering. From them, actually, we were going to have two. We were going to have one in North Carolina for friends of color in the South, which we haven't had in the past. In the past, we've just had the regional gatherings. The furthest south has been Washington, D.C. And then we had rescheduled the spring one that was happening for Intermountain, Pacific, and North Pacific to the in-person in the fall, but of course that's not going to happen. So we're going to still have that, but have it virtually. There is another event that we have online, which is a worship on Fridays at noon for friends of European descent who have a concern for racial justice. And so we also will be providing more programming that will be virtually for friends. And it was just with the coronavirus and then learning of the majority of people being affected by corona were people of color, or as some of us are beginning to switch terms and use people of the global majority, that it became clear that we needed to have spaces for us to be able to come together and to be in a space of majority of people of color or from the global majority. So we created the worships, and then George Floyd was killed, and there were several other incidents that had occurred, and it were some folks, it just felt really difficult going to a Quaker meeting that was predominantly of European descent. So I appreciate the gift that I have with being a member of and attender of Ujima Friends Peace Center, which is located in North Philadelphia. And I know that you have had a conversation with Aisha Imani, who talks more about the Ujima Friends Peace Center. And we also have a website that friends can go and see many of the wonderful things that we're doing there. But with COVID, we became virtual and have not been worshiping in the building that we rent in North Philadelphia. And I wanted to be able to help provide an opportunity for others to participate in the worship environment that I've been able to have at Ujima. So was really happy when it was brought to the idea was brought to French General Conference, and the response was, yes, definitely, let's provide this. So, I am sorry that it has taken a pandemic for there to be a shift that we are observing. And my question is that shift momentary, or is this systemic? But I know, I have been working in Friends General Conference and the Religious Society of Friends to help provide voices for friends of color and provide communities for friends of color within Quakerism. And as you know, also, in one way in doing that was co-authoring the book, Fit for Freedom, Not for Friendship, Quakers, African Americans, and the Myth of Racial Justice, which FGC published with Donna McDaniel. It has, for me, the ministry that I have had and been able, with the support of my meeting, to share with the Religious Society of Friends and others, has been to help us understand that there has been a rift that has been intentionally created, that has been structurally maintained between people in general, but really more specifically people of color and from the global majority. That our lives, our experiences are different, and that many times I'll stick with me, that many times that I haven't felt visible or haven't felt that I could be my full self within Quakerism. So that it has been a gift to be able to share that and to provide spaces where other friends who feel that can come together and to share that as well. And that in those spaces, it gives us the opportunity to to look at our wounds and to start working on healing our wounds and make it possible then to go back out into the full Quaker community and replenished and be in experiences where, once again, we are that small in numbers. And sometimes things are, decisions are made within Quakerism based on numbers. And so that if you're just, I know that we say we have a system where just one person can stop a process. Sometimes that's true, and you know, sometimes that's not. But so within with French General Conference, as I said, I've been doing work with French General Conference since 1994. And I felt the largest opportunity that the organization had around having a better understanding of how white supremacy is a part of Quakerism is started, well, I wouldn't say started, because it started actually before I started being involved with FGC in 1994, but it became a priority of the organization once in 2016, which was another summer of unrest in this country. With the death of Philando Castile and others. And actually the FGC gathering was in Minnesota that year and was about an hour away from Minneapolis and was happening at the time of the murder of Philando Castile. So, so we were all there present in the state, and there had been incidents that had occurred during the pre-gathering retreat of racial profiling, which being in the retreat gave friends an opportunity for us to be able to share with each other what was happening and to realize that it was systemic, that it wasn't occurring to, because there are times when as an African American, I have an experience and I'm not clear, you know, well, was it just happening to me or is this something systemic? And each of us were having that, oh, you know, that police car just stopped and is watching me, or that police car is following me as I am, you know, walking across campus. You know, why is that happening? And that's strange. And then when each of us were sharing our story of having had that experience, it became clear that this was something that was not just happening to one of us, but was happening to all of us. And so we had an opportunity to talk to FGC, to the General Secretary, to the head of the gathering committee, and the staff of gathering, and say, this needs to stop. Who did meet with the university and share our concern and our experiences with the university. So that was a positive experience for us. But then there was another experience that we had of having, being asked as friends of the global majority to sit up on stage, that there is a welcoming the first night, an opening worship. And it happened that year that the gathering committee was all people of European descent. And so again, first several of us were asked individually, and I thought I was being asked as a staff person to sit up there, and other people who had roles thought they were being either asked as their role or because they were friends with the clerks, and then then there was just a blanket invitation of wanting the entire group to sit up there. And then it felt like we were being tokenized.
Mhm.
And so, you know, it was different if there were specific roles, but so then we spoke back about that and the pain of that happening. And if you want more information about this, it's actually on the French General Conference website,
Mhm.
and in reference to what actually ended up resulting from this, which was the organization doing an institutional assessment. And and that happened because there were friends who were at the Friends of European Descent who were at the gathering that week, who saw what was happening and experienced, because some of them had partners that were friends from the global majority. And as a result, um, started a petition asking the organization to do the assessment, and then took it back to their monthly and yearly meetings, and got monthly and yearly meetings to sign the petition and to write minutes and to send in contributions for the assessment to be able to happen, because it wasn't a part of the budget. And if it was going to happen, it had to have specific money raised. And so we were able to raise, I think it was about $70,000 to do that, and hired a Crossroads consultants to work with French General Conference and to train us how to do the assessment. Um, and that was a positive experience for being able to learn how to do it ourselves so that we could do it another time. Because it's clear that doing the assessment once, that's not sufficient. You know, it's a testing tool to see where we are, and if then doing work and then it's like, okay, so we need to test again and see where we are. What we're doing, has it been effective? Has it not? Have we progressed? In what ways have we? And what other work do we need to be? What areas are we not as progressed in, and we need to do more work? Um, and and so that's been our plan. My concern is how we do the assessment in a way that isn't painful for people of the global majority. Because I know for me that as I was doing some of the work, that it was very painful, because it was bringing up past experiences of pain that were important to bring up, but I didn't necessarily want to have to experience again.
Mhm.
And then there were other friends who were saying, we've been saying for years that this is a problem and this is an issue. And so I feel invalidated that you're having to do an assessment to confirm what we've been saying. Um, so when we feel like we're ready to do another assessment, we're going to need to look at the process, and life changes, things evolve, and see how we want to do it again for a second time. But the results of the assessment are also on our website, and the team that we had a task force of friends from different areas of the country, different ages, different races, different genders, to participate in the team that gathered the information. And the thing that we recommended to the governing body Central Committee of French General Conference was that we actually create a committee called the Implementation Committee that would make sure that would look at the results of the assessment, and then make sure that the recommendations that were made there would be moved forward. Because our fear was that we'd have spent a year putting together, gathering the information and then putting it together, and then hand it out, and people would read it and it would just sit on the shelf.
Mm.
And so that for us, what was most important was making sure that there was a committee that was responsible for implementing the recommendations that were made. So, and that committee was formed, and I was a part of both the task force and also am a part of the implementation committee. So our plans were for this summer were to send out a information to yearly meetings, asking yearly meetings, excuse me, to think about changing, or I mean, some already have, but one of the challenges within Quakerism we have a practice that I would say is a color blindness practice of when we are looking at our membership of not looking at race and ethnicity.
Mm-hmm.
And so when people say to me, well, how many African Americans or Latin Americans or people of the global majority are members of the Religious Society of Friends, I have to say, I have no idea. I can give you a guess, and that's what it is, because we don't keep that information, those statistics. And Friends General Conference was originally that way, and several of us pushed and said, we say we're doing work and we're saying that we're going to increase the number of folks of the color and from the global majority. How are we tracking that? If we don't have that data, if we don't have, when people register that they are, what their race and ethnicity is, then we can't really make that statement and track it. And so French General Conference made that change in their registration. And so we would like also to ask for monthly and yearly meetings to take up that practice as well. But COVID happened. So, and we knew that yearly meetings were scrambling, just trying to figure out how yearly meetings were going to meet over the summer, since it was, first it wasn't clear whether it would be possible, whether this was seasonal and it would disappear in the summer, and we found no, it's not seasonal, it doesn't disappear over the summer. So we didn't want to add to the pressure that we knew yearly meetings were feeling. And so, but we will be asking them to do that. And some of us have already, I know our meeting, Central Philadelphia monthly meeting, has agreed to make that change and to ask friends to self-identify what their race and ethnicity is, and to have that now be a part of the statistics that we keep about our meeting.
So if there are people who want to find out about future gatherings for Friends of Color or Friends of the Global Majority, where should they go to the FGC website?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So you can, they can go to the FGC website, and there is there's a page in the Deepen section. Our website is, for me, complicated. So that's why I'm going to give some guidance. That when it opens, then it's at the top, there's a bar that has 4 different options of discover, deepen, connect, and serve. And so if they go to and click on the Deepen tab, then you have an option of clicking on Help Your Meeting Challenge Racism. And if you go to that, Help Your Meeting Challenge Racism, they will see that there is a list of the different virtual events that FGC is sponsoring for Friends of Color. There's also a link there for the fall gathering that will be, that we haven't updated yet, but that we will be updating, and where you will be able to go to be able to get information about the virtual retreats that we're sponsoring for folks in, I guess it will be Southeast, South Central, also probably Baltimore. Those, we're still trying to keep them regional.
Mm-hmm.
But I can say from the gathering this summer, where we had the pre-gathering retreat, which actually there's an epistle that we wrote that I also want to support friends of being able to read, the outgoing epistle of Friends of Color. So we also had times during the week where of the gathering where we would come together as a community, and that was an international experience. And so there has been some desire for those groups to continue to meet. And so that's something that we'll be looking at and seeing how we can continue to have those opportunities available. So,
and maybe we can make the epistle available as an advanced document on PYM's website too.
well, that would be wonderful. So, yeah, that would be wonderful. I can make sure and send you a link to that. Cool. So, if that will help.
Yeah, and feel free to send me anything else you think would be useful as a resource or advanced document for people to have, and we'll post those the same place where this video gets posted.
Okay, yes, I'll be happy to do that, because I know we also put together a resource page of different materials about white supremacy and about some of the struggles that folks from the global majority are experiencing. Mm-hmm. So I will make sure to send that information, a link to that information as well. So yeah, FGC has been working hard to have this be a priority of the organization. Pretty much, I would say since 2016, when Central Committee approved the formation of the task force to be able to go ahead and to do the assessment. So,
that's really wonderful, and we want to keep doing, as a yearly meeting, I think, finding ways to work in concert with FGC's leadership on this. So really appreciate, well, it's beyond appreciation, it's deep gratitude for the continued service that you bring and leadership. You are an elder in our community, and I appreciate you being willing to chat with us a little bit, and also join the panel discussion, which folks should also take a look at.
Thank you. Yes. Yes, I agree. They should look at the panel discussion as well. So I hope they look at all of the videos of the panel discussion, and also the individual ones that you're doing with all of us. So they're all fruitful. So and you know, one of the things that has been very clear to me in doing this work over the years is the importance of understanding that there was no one right way, that there is a lot of work that needs to be done, because there's a lot of structure that has been put into place, and that everyone has a role within our society in pushing back and dismantling this structure that oppresses others, and that ranges from what your role is. You know, it could be writing letters to your governor, writing letters to your Congress people. One of the things that when we were doing the research for Fit for Freedom was just in the beginning of this country, the formation of friends writing petitions and writing to the Congress, and them being annoyed at friends and just like, oh, there they go again. It's like, yeah, that's what we should be doing. I was thankful for the opportunity to go to Britain and to be able to arrange and be a part of the 1652 country tour. And it really opened my eyes to how revolutionary Quakerism was and how much people were putting their lives on the line just to worship, just to be a Quaker. And to sit in the meeting houses and that were built at the time, and to be there and to see the dog pens that they had constructed by the door of the meeting house so that they would be alerted when people were coming, most likely to arrest them for sitting in Quaker worship. But yet that was important enough for them to do that. For going to the jail there in Britain, and knowing that there were many Quakers who went to jail for worshiping, for complaining about the unjust systems that were there, that were in place. And it was just like, wow, what happened? What would George Fox say if he came back today and saw Quakerism and saw how middle class we are at this point? So he definitely wouldn't recognize it. So, but I think about, well, 50 years from now, 100 years from now, will I recognize Quakerism? For me, one of the gifts of Quakerism is continuing revelation, which provides us the opportunity to say, okay, yes, I know we've had this practice, but is it really suiting us anymore? And clearly the answer has been, in the past, no, because we don't no longer wear plain dress. And we no longer use the thou language in our communities. There are some individuals who do, but it is not something that we do as a whole. We decided as a community eventually, after a very long time, that we should no longer enslave people of African descent. So there have been practices within our religion in which felt dear to us, but then we did reach a point where we said, okay, this is no longer serving us, and it's time for us to stop doing this. And so that's what I have appreciated, seeing some of that happen, some of that shift happen within Quakerism. I have literally today just finished participating in Pacific Yearly Meeting, and seeing them struggle around changing the name of of a committee that they had, which was Ministry and Oversight. And it's been a discussion that they've been having for several years, and that this year they were finally able to agree that the term oversight was not suiting them, and that they were ready to let that go. They haven't found another term to replace it, so it's just going to be ministry until they do. But being there and observing that struggle and seeing the pain on many sides of friends who were saying we need to stop using this, and other friends who are saying, this is important and has some value, that being in community for me is about struggle, because
Mm.
we are all individuals and that we all have needs, and there are going to be times when my needs are different than your needs, and the issue is, how do we create a community where all our needs can get met?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
just like if people are in partnerships, you
Mm-hmm.
know,
Mm-hmm.
partnerships are the same in that, you know, there are making sure that each person is getting their needs met, and sometimes one person doesn't, and you need to step back, and the other person has more of their needs met, and then, you know, you got to check in and say, is this still working for us? And no, it's time to shift it. And so how do we shift it? So that, you know, I see communities, as I see people, as I see relationships, as I see Quakerism as something that continually evolves.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So,
Amen.